Welcome back, class, to another live stream of Work Watching, where you watch me work on video and audio editing projects. My name is Sonja, I'm a motion designer and video editor, and today I'm going to take you through my new and improved, well, since it's new, it's not improved, but it's a new setup for taking snippets, clips, highlights, shorts, whatever you want to call them, from the live streams and making them into small tutorial clips. And I've worked like 3 days straight just setting up the whole, like all the sequences, which is the word for compositions in Premiere Pro, all the sequences, setting up all of the like parameters for all the different exports that I wanted to make. And I created a motion graphics template that I can put over the top of when I want to export it for like Instagram or Instagram stories, and different setup for when I want to use captions and all of that jazz. And I've already edited like 3 or 4 little tutorials that I'm releasing every Saturday and Sunday, so mark your calendars for all of the new exports, or well, tutorials being launched. Saturday is when I will export shorts, so it's like a 1 minute vertical video that you can essentially watch on your phone, like a story or a IGTV live thing. And then on the Sunday of that same weekend, I'll release an extended tutorial version. So it'll be all of the stuff that I chopped off to create the 1 minute version, but it'll be like everything about that one topic that I want to explain. And it'll be in like a regular 16:9 format. So yay for that! And today I'll take you through how I set up that template. Well, the template being a Premiere Pro project file, PPP, P. And yeah, so let's get into it, and then I'll also take you through how I'm envisioning cutting that all together, because I've now had a little bit of exercise in editing some of the shorts and tutorials that I've already like scheduled to launch for the next few weekends. And so I can take you through like my work process now without going like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, I don't know how this works. So let's jump into it. I hope you're excited about that. There is, I can see a massive lag in my OBS, so do let me know in the chat if you are experiencing video audio lag. I hope that's all fine. But if there's any issue, do let me know in the chat. I am monitoring the chat, so just let me know if anything isn't working as expected. I'm just making my Premiere Pro windows a little bit smaller because I am working on a relatively small screen here. And I will need to turn on desktop audio so you can hear something. Okay, let's switch over. So, this is my Premiere Pro. Cool. Hi, Tom. Thanks for joining. Okay. So here we are. This is the first setup. So the other day in the Shut Up and Draw, I thought I explained something, kind of the stages of becoming a pro illustrator quite well. And I'm now always making like a mental note. Like anytime I'm like, so here's the topic, and then I kind of launch into an explanation of something. I'm like, okay, must remember, and I make a little note. I have my notebook here. And I make a little note, and this will be probably blurry because it would need to be like this close. I can try and focus it up. I don't know if this is too small anyway for you to see what this says, but I make a note of the date, of what the live stream was and what the topic was, so I can find it when I'm like scrubbing through the footage. Okay, so let's see. There we go. So yeah, so I've got the stages of being an illustrator, and another one, effects controls and how they work. So those are 2 tutorials that I've got ready. I still need to rename the sequences in Premiere Pro, but we'll get into that. There is a question or a comment in the chat from Tom. I'll just read that quick. Yeah, so Tom is saying he's wondering if I could turn on some sort of clipping, a trimming app, or a bot that saves a section from the stream. Yeah, actually, funnily enough, my partner said the same thing. Is like, is there a way that you can set a marker during your stream? I wish there was a thing. Like, I'm sure there's a possibility to somehow set that up. I'm not knowledgeable enough to do that, but that would be amazing. I know you can do that when you're recording direct into a software. Like if I was recording into Premiere Pro or Audition, I know that while I'm recording, I can just hit a marker. And even if that marker wasn't exactly 100% where that topic started, it's still in the range, so I can like go back and find it. So I know there's that possibility in the software. So in theory, it's a thing that people can do when they record things. So theoretically, it should be a transferable skill to something else. I wouldn't know how to do that, but that would be awesome, because then usually I stream, when I talk and I'm excited, I gesticulate a lot and my mic is like right in front of my face. So when I gesticulate, I tend to hit my mic. Sorry about that. And I'm really excited because I've been looking forward to this stream. I'm so excited about this setup that I'm like, I have to show somebody. Like, I have to show somebody. I'm so proud of myself. I'm so into processes and making things streamlined. I mean, this is probably why I'm so into expressions-driven animation. And so I'm like super excited to make something like extremely efficient. Okay, so here we go. I will zoom into the... Sorry, wrong button. I will zoom into this section for you so you can see that a little bit better. Okay, these are my names. So this is the first one we're gonna be working on. So what I did was I create a folder for each of... Okay, let's start from the very beginning. First, I import the actual stream file, all right? Then I take that stream file and I put it in what is called a sequence. That's essentially what in After Effects would be called a composition. In Premiere Pro, that's a sequence. So when I say sequence, it's not a sequence of a video, it's a composition. So I create a sequence, which I then can use like as a nested comp. So not a nested comp. A nested sequence is like a pre-comp in After Effects. So I can, from this imported file, I can create as long as they're in this project viewer, they're just sequences. But as soon as I put a sequence into another sequence, that's a nested sequence, okay? So still on board, everyone. So I've created a nested sequence and I'm doing it as follows. First, I create the extended tutorial cut. Then I can create a duplicate of that. And then I can like cut out everything to make it fit in 1 minute. That way, at first I did it the other way around because at first I didn't anticipate making extended tutorial cuts. I was just like, yeah, I'll make like these shorts and they'll be 1 minute long and I can post them on Instagram, I can post them on YouTube, I can post them everywhere. That'll be the thing. And then as I was working on this entire template, I was like, hang on a minute, actually, no, it would be way more useful to then also create a video, because if somebody's watching the short, that's fine. They might be like out of interest, watch it on their phone. But if they actually want to follow the instructions that I'm teaching in that tutorial, it makes no sense for it to be like a vertical video, because nobody's going to watch vertical video on their desktop when they're actually following the tutorial. So then I was like, oh, okay, let's create an extended tutorial. And then I was like repurposing the shorts and extending them out to remove the cuts. So now I'm going the other way. First, I create the extended tutorial and then I'm cutting it down to create the 1 minute short. Okay, so we have an answer on the, what did you call it, Tom? The trimming clipping thing. Twitch has stream markers, which can be programmatically triggered by mods via command. Oh, check that out. There's a Twitch bot called Nightbot with a marker command. Oh, that's cool. That's definitely something I should maybe look into. Okay. And then you can maybe string two markers together and render them out in real time. But I would need to run a Node.js with a Node app. Hi, Mr. M. Welcome to the stream. Today we're doing video editing. I don't know if you picked up on that. In the past few streams, I was mentioning that Fridays for the foreseeable future is going to be work watching, where I do video editing. And right now I'm going to do some editing down of highlights from live streams to create video tutorials out of them, essentially. Some neighbor is doing some renovations. I hope that like knocking noise isn't annoying. Yeah, I would need to look into that, the stream markers thing and how that actually works. That sounds really interesting. But because I'm streaming directly from OBS that then ports over to Twitch, I wonder if that still works. Yeah, thanks. DM me, Tom. But that's super interesting. I need to look into that. I'm also not very versed on Twitch in general, like all the ins and outs and what you can do. I know you can do way more than I'm currently doing. So I need to kind of get my head around that in general. But yeah, that's super interesting. Okay. First thing I want to do, I have a bunch of sequences open from like previous times when I was working, and I'm just going to close them down, and I can do that by just hitting Control W. It's the same way to close open compositions in, I just saw something where there was something cut out. I hope nothing's broken. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I already rendered out any previous sequences, so that's fine. But Control W or Command if you're on Mac, that's the same shortcut to close compositions, open compositions like this in After Effects, in case you did not know that. And what I want to do is, okay, I'm bringing in the tutorial, and I always create a marker for where I want the thumbnail to be. So most of the time I have the thumbnail where I'm like talking. So it's part of the snippet or the short, let's call it the short. But I'm also from that, from this live stream highlight, I also create the thumbnail for the live stream replay that stays on YouTube. And I also create highlights, like, I mean, I leave the highlights in Twitch as well, but I'm less concerned about Twitch because I'm really getting just the basic amount of views, like maybe like 8 views per video. So I create one marker for that, and then the red marker is where I'm like cutting the scene, because once I go to the parent sequence, so to speak, and I don't know if I created a parent sequence for this already, like this would be the tutorial, so you can see it says, it says the date, which streaming series it is, what the thing is that I'm explaining, what the dimension is, and then what it's for. So this is for the tutorial. This is for the stream thumbnail. This is for the short thumbnail. So those would be rendered as PNG still images. Then this is 9:16 thumbnail in case I want that for like stories or IGTV or something. And the reason why I have separate sequences for all of these is because it's way easier to just grab a bunch of sequences and then batch export those than having to go into a video sequence and then say, okay, this is my thumbnail, then going to closing the in and out point to one frame, rendering that out, and then, I want to make changes to the video. Okay, back opening the in and out point back up to render out the video again. So I've already gone through like the pain of all of those like steps. So I'm not doing that. I have different sequences for thumbnail, for video, for different crops, and so on. Okay, so first thing we want to do is replace this, because this is just duplicate of this previous one. Oh, sorry, you can't quite see where I am here. I'm just gonna move this up a tad. You can't see a lot. Okay, I'm just gonna go to the widescreen so you can see a little bit more of this. And basically what I did is I duplicated this folder. You can just duplicate anything with not Control D. In Premiere Pro, Control D does not duplicate things. It adds a cross, what is it called? This thing here, a cross dissolve. Why? It just doesn't make any sense. Like all other Adobe software, Control D is duplicate. No, Premiere Pro, Control D is cross dissolve. Who the hell needs a shortcut for that? Anyway, it's so annoying. So you need to right click, duplicate, and then it duplicates the whole folder with all the naming and everything. And then I just like replace all of the namings. And then I can go into my tutorial where we are currently. And no, don't play. And yeah, this is the other thing. The reason, I don't know if you saw that 1 second where it started playing, that's because my modus operandi is to hit the space bar to drag over here to like get the temporary hand icon so I can drag. No, also not the thing in Premiere Pro. So bloody annoying. Also, Control and scroll wheel on your mouse does not shrink the timeline. No, that scrolls this up and down, and scroll wheel without Control scrolls the timeline. It's just actually Alt and Scroll zooms in and out of the timeline. That's kind of okay, but why Adobe? Just make all the shortcuts the same. I mean, most people who work in After Effects have some sort of overlap with Premiere Pro. Why are you making the shortcuts different? So annoying. I know, dissolve starts with D. There's some, like, logic behind it. It's just still annoying. It's like, why would you need a shortcut for that specific dissolve? Because it's not the only dissolve. And do you really need dissolve more often than you need duplicate, that one is the shortcut? I know I could replace the shortcuts. I know I can do that. I prefer not to, because I have had the experience where I've replaced shortcuts and then I found a tutorial where you need to do something specific and they're like, and now you use this shortcut, and it's the one I replaced. I'm like, fuck, now I don't know which shortcut that is because I replace it with something that I need more frequently. Oh, God. Okay, rant over. Let's get back to business. So, I've got my tutorial here. I can do the replace the same way I can do it in After Effects, where I click the layer I want to have replaced. I can hold Alt and I can drag in the sequence that I want to replace it with, and I just drag it over it and it just replaces it. So now you can see it's replaced. That's cool. It's super long right now because I haven't done the cut yet. So let's go inside, and I'm gonna have to put on my headphones so I can hear. And I think I need to change my desktop audio because I don't think I've done that yet. And hopefully you can actually hear this when I go in here. Oh, great. It's still coming out of the speakers. I love when when Premiere Pro does that. It's like my desktop audio was set to speakers, but in Premiere Pro it's coming out of the headphones. Then I switch my desktop audio to headphones, and then in Premiere Pro it's coming out of the speakers. Absolutely no sense. It's nonsensical, and every single time I have to go into the preferences, change the audio hardware. Like, oh my God, why though? Why? Just stop it. And see, it's set to speakers. It's even set to speakers. There's like nothing I can do. Yeah, it's just coming straight up out of the speakers now. At this point, the only thing I can do is actually like turn off Premiere Pro most of the time. I don't know why I keep saying Premiere Pro. Like, Premiere is fine. You know, it's like saying the whole name of a celebrity instead of just their first name. So it's like, now it's coming out of my headphones, even though I just set it to come out of the speakers of my screen. It's absolutely nonsensical. Okay, let's just make sure that you can actually hear it. Okay, you should be able to hear it. All right, at some point in this here, I talk about the stages of becoming an illustrator or a pro illustrator. So there are different ways this is it. Of approaching illustration especially when you're a beginner. There is master copies where you imitate somebody's work. Oh, there's still music going on. Okay, I need to make sure that I credit the music. It's like the lo-fi soundtrack that I play during Shut Up and Draw. I need to make sure that I actually credit that in the tutorial as well. And a cool tip in Premiere Pro, when you want to play back faster, instead of hitting the spacebar, you can hit L, and you can hit it multiple times to play back faster. I'm going to do that now. So there are different ways of approaching illustrations especially when you're a big... And you can hear that the pitch doesn't get higher. It plays it at the same pitch but faster, which is super useful for editing in Premiere Pro. It's not the same in Audition. I tried to do that recently, and the L shortcut does work, but it does raise the pitch and makes it a little bit harder to understand what the person is saying. And the more you hit L, the faster it plays back as well, which is super useful. And because you have to hit L multiple times for it to play faster, you can't hit L to pause it the way you would press the spacebar. So then you have to go back to spacebar to pause the playback. And that's how you can play back faster when you're editing in Premiere Pro. So there are different ways of approaching illustrations especially when you're a beginner. There is master copies where you imitate somebody's work and try to get it as close to the original as possible. So this is not your design, this is not your artwork. So what I'm looking for now is a very concise explanation of the topic that I want to explain. So even for the extended version, I don't want to keep in like a lot of waffling. Right now, everything I've said is like fine, but I'm probably not going to say a lot, so I'm just going to explain what I'm looking for. So I have a tendency of, when I'm explaining something, I give a lot of examples instead of just one example to exemplify what I want to say. So once I start into repeating examples, that's where I like make a cut and like go to the next point that I want to make. So that's what I'm looking for now. Essentially just trying to study a master's work, so they're master copies, because you're creating a copy of a master. I think this originated in, or is a practice with illustration or fine art students that go to museums. Okay, like here I'm like correcting myself quite a lot, so this is probably where I would cut out some of the mistakes that I'm making, just to make it a little bit more clear what I want to say. Creating a copy of a master. This was master. This was, I think this originated in, or is a practice with illustration. Okay, so probably here. I do want to be conscious with the jump cuts. I think right before this, I don't have my hands up, and right after I do have my hands up, or if I'm like making a really extreme face, I do want to be conscious of the jump cut kind of lining up a little bit so the jump cut isn't quite as extreme, but it's not that high on my priority list. I do want to just make the audio sound as if there were no cuts, because that kind of masks cuts. As long as the audio sounds good, you kind of ignore jump cuts in the video. And I want the subject matter to sound concise. Creating a copy of a master. I think so there is kind of a jump in what I'm saying here, so maybe I do want to either give myself a breath or do like a cross dissolve on the audio so it sounds a little bit smoother. I think this of a master. I think this originated in, or is a practice. I think this originated. And I think I want to do another cut here because the in or is. And I'm cutting with Control K, and when I have the, I'll just show you that again. When I have the track highlighted, and I hit Control K, it cuts it and it highlights the track behind it, which allows me to ripple delete with Shift and Delete. And that way, all of the tracks following it will kind of ripple back to fill the space. A master. I think this originated, is a practice. Oh, okay. I think this. So maybe I need to just. This is a practice. I don't know how choppy that's going to sound. I think this is a practice. That's okay. I think this is a practice. I mean, it's kind of jumpy. I don't want it to be too jumpy, so maybe I won't cut that. Let's see. There's a fine balance between removing mistakes and making it sound too choppy. So I don't want either extreme. I want kind of a balance between the two of them. You're creating a copy of a master. I think this originated in, or is a practice with illustration or fine art students that. Yeah, I think it's better if I don't cut this actually. And it's kind of annoying having to switch to the hand icon just so I can drag this. You can drag in the bottom here, but then it usually drags too much, and then I always have to remember to go down here. It's kind of irritating. Okay, also I won't make any changes. I think you can see everything quite well. Maybe I'll just drag this down a little bit because you don't need quite so much space for the timeline. Okay, so what I'd like to adjust though is this. What is it? The audio is I think dissolve. I want the audio transition. Okay, I guess it's not dissolve. It's a crossfade. Okay. I don't really know what the difference between any of these are, but I usually take the exponential fade and I make it very, very small. Just so like this chopped off bit doesn't sound so chopped off, basically. I think that I wonder if I can cut this a little bit later, maybe. I think this originated. No, I can't. Let's see. I guess this is. Let's see. Of a master. I think. Oh, wait, did I cut out the master copy part? So this is a master. No, it has to be cut out here, surely. A master. I think this originated. That's a little bit better. In, or is a practice with illustration or fine art students that go to museums and copy masters. So it's a study. Okay, this is not something like you shouldn't be copying an artist and saying, look what I did. It's not really your work, it's more for you to study. So that's the purpose of a master study. Then the next step is getting multiple pieces of inspiration and mashing them together to create a new art form, which then theoretically or practically is your design or your creation, because you didn't just copy one person's thing, you copied multiple, not copied, but you took inspiration from multiple different. Okay, I correct myself there, and I think I want to cut out the first part and just jump straight to the correction. Or practically is a new art form, which then I want to jump to practically. Okay, let's see. Then practically art form, which then practically art form, which then practically is your design or your creation, because you didn't just copy one person's thing, you copied multiple, not copied, but created, because you didn't just copy one person's thing, you copied multiple, not copied, you took inspiration from multiple, but your creation, because you didn't just copy. Okay, I want to cut out the copy part here. Because you didn't just... I don't know if I can cut it out, because I don't know if the sentence then makes sense. Okay, let's see. Or your creation, because you didn't just... You took inspiration from multiple... Because, Or your creation, because you took a creation, because... So right where I start saying the you, I think that could tie in with this. Creation, because you took inspiration. Yeah, that could work, and if I throw a fade on this, this should fade together nicely, hopefully. Creation, because you took inspiration from... Yeah, okay. Creation, because you took inspiration from multiple different looks and created your own. So that's already a step further than just a master copy. And that's what I would... Okay, and I think I'm gonna... I don't know if I want to keep this in there. I guess it's okay for the extended version to show, like, this example of my work. I would think or define this one as... And I think right when I'm trying to focus on it, I can just jump to the focus part and do a crossfade video. Dissolve, fade. But I think for video it's not called the same. I hate that you can't find like the transitions with the same names. It's dissolve, cross dissolve. Okay, so it's... And I want it to be quite short. This would be like the second step. Yeah, if I have a pause, a longer pause than necessary, I will sometimes, for the 1 minute short, I will cut it out just so I can like finish the sentence at the end of the video. So if I'm like missing like a few frames, because the short does need to be a maximum of 1 minute, I don't think I can even be a few frames over, or at least I don't want to try and then fail and then have to scramble to fix it. So I really want to make sure that the shorts, the vertical shorts, are 1 minute long, and if it doesn't fit, then sometimes I do cut out the breaths just to make it fit. But in the extended version, I don't bother unless I'm doing like this part where I'm like, you know, like doing the fiddling around with the camera to focus correctly. But I think this like transition is way too long. Let's make that even less. One as... This would be like the second... Okay, let's see. Fine, this one as... This would be like the second step. It's not something that came exactly out of my own head, but it is something that I put together with various pieces of inspiration. And I think at this point I can also cut out this like zooming process, and I think at this point I kind of start repeating the explanations. I think I can cut out more than just this refocusing bit. And then the next level, no. Okay, just disproved myself immediately, but I'm still not. And then the next level, yeah, okay, doesn't matter, I'll still cut out like this part. And then the next level, I mean there could be more levels in between that, but the next level is something that you... Okay, I think I can jump right to this. I think I can jump straight to this, and then I can do a cross dissolve to me being in focus. And if you ever use cross dissolve or any kind of like fade type thing, do make it quite short, because these cross dissolves rarely look good. So if you have to use it as short as possible, just to get past like this transition stage, because it never looks good. I see it a lot with people who don't like jump cuts, and they do like a really long cross dissolve, but that doesn't make it look better. Most of the time you want to go quickly to the next shot. The next level is something that you actually, at this point I can actually either cut this out. I can do either, or I can add the cross dissolve. I don't know if I need to really. Let's see. Next level of inspiration. The next level is something that, yeah, I can, that's okay, because like you don't really see the dissolve because it's going from blurry to not blurry, so it's like I'm unblurring it, so that's okay. The next level is something that you come up with without inspiration from other artists, maybe inspiration from nature or your environment, but not necessarily inspiration from other art, and you create the whole thing on your own, draw it, illustrate it, whatever materials you're using, and that would be your original work. So that's how I would kind of categorize the stages of studying illustration or becoming a proficient illustrator when you're just starting out. So a short is 1 minute long. So the thing that I'm creating now is a tutorial, which is the extended version of the short. And a short, the reason why I'm using the term short is because YouTube defines it as that. A short is a vertical video up to 1 minute length. That's defined as a short. It's in Instagram, that would be a reel. Actually, I don't know if that would be a reel, because I think a reel has to be 30 seconds. But a post in Instagram, a video on Instagram, can also only be a maximum of 1 minute length. If you want to post something longer, then you have to post it to IGTV. And I think on TikTok, although I don't use TikTok, I think TikTok is also either 30 seconds, or maybe you can do a minute now. I'm not sure about that. But when I was talking about the frames earlier, it's that I didn't want to go past the 1 minute, even by a few frames. But no, it's not 5 frames long. Oh, that's what you meant for the how short is short for a cross dissolve. It's hard to tell because a Premiere does count the frames, but they are, they are weird. But first of all, it doesn't seem to put the cross dissolve like directly on the center of the video. It's like jumping left and right. I don't know why that's the case either. But this would be a short dissolve, and let's see how short this is. So it's 1, 2, 3 frames short. So between 3 and 5 frames is what I would consider a short dissolve. And yeah, so you can barely see it. It just kind of helps you in smoothing the transition. Like the see, and like the fact that it's dissolving and also the light is adjusting, that helps with this like this perception that there isn't a dissolve happening. You can't necessarily see a dissolve. You can see that something is changing between the two shots, but you can't necessarily see this part of the dissolve. See where I have like 2 sets of glasses? I don't know if you can see that very well. You can see it better in this one. So this is something I'd like to avoid. That's why I'm making the dissolve very short. So I just have this like very quick transition to the other scene. And I really try to avoid this dissolve wherever possible. I prefer jump cuts. I just sometimes add them if like the audio is too choppy, or if the video is like here going from the blurred stage to the focused stage. I think here a dissolve works slightly better than just a cut from blur to sharp. So those are the only stages where I use that dissolve. And I think this is where I'd want to cut the explanation, because I think I rounded it off quite well. Let's see. Studying illustration or becoming a proficient illustrator when you're just starting out. And I think then after this, I'm like turning back to the
Mission
chat.
copy. Yeah, that's a good way of calling it.
Yeah, I think at this point, then I go into other explanations. Actually, no, there is a part that I might want to include, and that also means I'm gonna have to change the thumbnail because previously it was here. So I have to move that in the thumbnail sequence. Okay, so I like. Okay, let's see.
The next level is something that you come up with without inspiration from others, inspiration from nature or your environment, not necessarily inspiration from other art, and you create the whole thing on your own, draw it, illustrate it, whatever materials you're using, and that would be your original work. So that's how I would kind of categorize the stages of studying illustration, of becoming a proficient illustrator when you're just starting out.
And then later on, because there was an interjection by someone in the chat that isn't everyone always inspired by other people, and I make a comment. Oh, trying to change this so it stops scrolling up and down. I don't know if I can. I think in order to stop this scrolling, I'm gonna have to remove this track, which I'll happily do. Delete all empty tracks, and then it'll stop this scrolling. Well, if I make it small enough, I guess. Okay, can you... Why is it still scrolling? Can you stop? Okay, Okay, if this is small enough, it'll stop scrolling. Just make this smaller, and maybe... I thought there was a way to, like, drag this down here. Okay. Okay. Now this is scrolling. It's so annoying. I hate the scrolling. I hate it. I want it to stop. Okay. No, it's still scrolling. Okay, well. A little bit less scrolling. Okay. I want to stop this, like, vertical scrolling as much as possible because it really irritates me. But now this seems very small. I guess I can't avoid that unless I want to make this slightly bigger. Yeah, then I can avoid it. Yeah, not quite. Cool. Alright, so there is, at this point, I want to go further down in the timeline. Play.
And mission copy, yeah, that's a good way of calling it. And I would still count myself in that second stage. So
okay, then I'm talking about myself.
So there are things that I come up with by myself, like the mindfulness illustrations, which I'm trying to find now. That's a good question.
Okay, so at this point, I don't know where the bit is that I'm looking for. What I can do is I can double click this, I can go in the source, and then look in the source, and then just get, like, the in and out point for that scene.
With bright
and
pastel.
In the source window, I can also do the fast playback with the double L.
Colors, you know, that's not really a specific thing tied to one particular artist, whereas maybe a certain type of line style or a certain type of shading style might be recognizable for one particular artist, and if you incorporate that, that doesn't necessarily mean you're copying them, but if it ends up...
This could be valuable. I'll see if this is interesting or not. Ah, this is in the way. You're in the way. And this is my screen blocker trying to get me to stand up.
Exists 100%. You're always influenced by your surroundings.
Oh, yeah. This is where I'm talking about it. So it's this. It's a little bit annoying that I'm showing something right when I'm talking about something interesting. But there you go. Can't have everything, right?
When you're just starting out. That is a good question. Does work without inspiration actually exist? Inspiration, let's say...
Okay.
Does work without inspiration... Starting out. Does work without inspiration actually exist? Inspiration, did I say expiration?
Did I say expiration?
Work without inspiration actually exist.
I did not. And I can do a cut here again.
I don't think work without inspiration exists 100%.
There's going to be a lot of cuts here.
I don't think work...
Well, I guess I can keep this one in.
Exist. I don't think work without inspiration exists 100%.
So I think I want to add a cross dissolve here as well, just because it looks weird going from my face to like a whole different shot. So I'll just add a dissolve
Starting
here.
out. Does work with...
Oh, that dissolve is too small now. Now we have to see a little bit of the dissolve because...
Does anything out. Does work without...
I think we might need a little bit more of this audio. Nope, can't do it because it's... Then I need an audio transition as well. Exponential fade, and this one I literally just want to make it as short as... Oh, this doesn't overlap over both then anymore. I want this to like reach where like the first bump in the audio is happening or something like that. Okay, see?
Out. Does work without... Out. Does work without inspiration actually exist? I don't think work without inspiration exists 100%. You're always influenced by your surroundings, by things that you consume, but there's a difference between being inspired by other people's work and kind of that sparking ideas, and incorporating somebody else's artwork or style even into your own work. I think there's a really clear distinction that needs to happen between being inspired and liking the style and incorporating that one, as long as you're still making, like, if you're...
Okay, I think that's where I want to cut it because I'm like repeating my examples again.
And liking a style and incorporating that one, as long as you're still making, like, as long as that one...
Okay, let's see.
As long as you're still making, like, as long as you're still elevating that to something else, that's still your original work.
Yeah, I think this is a good point that I'm trying to make here.
And liking a style and incorporating that one, as long as you're still elevating that to something else, that's still your original work, even though you might have incorporated some style essences from somebody else's work. But being inspired in general, just consuming things, and maybe you like a particular color palette and that's what inspires your color palette, I think that's a little bit different though, because you're then not just taking one particular thing from another artist and incorporating that, but it's just a general concept of me, for example. I like bright pastel colors. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of artists that create artwork with bright pastel colors. You know, that's not really a specific thing tied to one particular artist, whereas maybe a certain type of line style or a certain type of shading style might be recognizable for one particular artist. And if you incorporate that, that doesn't necessarily mean you're copying them, but if it ends up looking like their work, even though it's maybe your own, like...
Okay. If it ends up looking
like their work, even though it's maybe your own, like, drawing, maybe they drew an apple and you drew a monkey and it looks the same, but if somebody can look at two images side by side...
Yeah, if somebody can look at two images side by side.
It looks the same, it's the same. But if it ends up looking like their work, if somebody can look at two images...
No.
Copy them, but if it...
I think here.
That doesn't necessarily mean you're copying them, but if somebody can...
Okay.
Copy them.
Can take this out too, maybe?
If you incorporate that, that doesn't necessarily mean you're copying them. If somebody can...
Why is this, like, this weird...
If somebody can...
It's like a weird disturbance here.
Look at two images side by side for one particular artist, and if you incorporate that, that doesn't necessarily mean you're copying them, but if somebody can look at two images side by side and say, yeah, that's from the same person.
Let's listen to that not sped up, because something's weird
necessarily mean you're copying
in that cut.
Them, but if somebody can...
Yeah, there's something odd in this cut. I don't know what happened here. Maybe I'll just take the breath as well, so it's not quite so choppy.
You're copying them, but if somebody...
Oh, now there's two breaths. Okay.
If somebody can look at two artists, and if you incorporate that, that doesn't necessarily mean you're copying them, but if somebody can... You're copying them...
There's something weird going on there. So Tom is saying that I used to trace kurz gesagt and recreate a lot of the animations and scenes while learning animation. And I think that's absolutely fine. That's what I would call a master copy. Master copies are usually, that term usually refers to illustration, but it can be extrapolated to any kind of studying somebody's style and trying to become better in that field. I think that's totally fine as long as you're not selling in the terms of presenting it as your own work. I think that's where the kind of the disingenuity comes in, where you're like, oh yeah, I made this, do you like it? Where actually it's a master copy and you shouldn't be pretending that it's your own, right? So if you're just doing it to study somebody else's work, that's a master copy. That's absolutely fine. You just shouldn't then say, I made this, because you clearly, yes, you made it in a you know, technical sense. You produced something with your skills and put work hours in it, but you didn't make that art, if you know what I mean. So that's where, like, that's a very important distinction to make when you, let's say, I don't believe that somebody should be posting master copies, because no matter what you say in the captions, no matter if you put a little, like, info thing on the image, people will still take that as your work and they will ignore any reference to it being a master copy. So in my opinion, if you're doing master copies, that should be for your own studies. It should not be something that you're posting on social media, because it will get lost that it's a master copy and that it isn't your own work. Once you start getting better and you starting to get to the second stage of illustration, where you're like incorporating multiple styles, and from that, kind of like a phoenix from the ashes, a new piece of work comes out of it, then that could be like the first stage where you're starting to post it on the internet and saying, this is my work. Because then it's like an amalgamation of multiple influences. It's no longer one copy of one thing or one artist. But just be very careful with like master copies and saying it's your work. It's really just for you to study that art. Could you have, though? I mean, shouldn't NFTs actually be your original work?
For one particular artist, and if you incorporate that, that doesn't necessarily mean you're copying them. But if somebody can,
there's something weird in this cut. I cannot. Maybe I should take this breath out and put this breath in. I don't know. Copying them, but if somebody, there's like 2 breaths in here. Copying them, but if somebody can look at 2 images side by side and say recognizable for one particular. Let me remove this guide. I think you just have to drag them away. These are annoying. I don't know if that removes it for all the other things where I wanted that guide to be, but no, I think I'm fine with the audio. I don't want to, this is one thing I don't want to do with these tutorials. I don't want to get down in the nitty-gritty of it. I want to cut them together so they're like nicely polished, but not like masterpieces, because there is a certain level of perfection that I don't want to reach, because then I'm going to get bogged down in actually producing these on a regular basis. I want this to be kind of an easy entry editing project where I can really churn them out on a regular basis, because if I get too stuck in the perfectionism of it, then I just won't do it. So I don't want to go down the route of editing the audio in Audition. I want to stay far away from that.
If you incorporate
incorporate that, that doesn't necessarily mean you're copying them, but if somebody can... Okay, that sounds better. The breath from the second sentence rather than from the first sentence.
Copying them. But if somebody can look at two images side by side and say, yeah, that's from the same person, then you're walking a very fine line between inspiration and copying.
So I think I made a good point there, and let's see if there's anything else.
Then actually crossed that.
Actually, maybe I'll take that second part.
You're walking out, yeah, the same person.
Ah, stupid hand icon.
Or I think
maybe at this. Oh no. Sometimes I hit L instead of K, and then it separates the video from the audio. Super annoying. It's super annoying when you don't notice that, then you do a bunch of edits and then you can't undo that, and then a bunch of clips are not grouped together anymore. So annoying.
Look at two images side by side and say, yeah, that's from the same person. I think you've then actually crossed that line.
I don't know. Maybe I'll just keep the whole thing.
Or I think you've then actually crossed that line. So the images I was showing you earlier, that's...
Okay.
Then actually crossed that line.
What did I say? Cross that line of copying?
You're recognizable for one particular artist, and if you incorporate that, that doesn't necessarily mean you're copying them, but if somebody can look at two images side by side and say, yeah, that's from the same person, or I think you've...
Oh, I didn't, yeah, I'll take that cut back.
You're copying them, but if somebody can look at two images side by side and say, yeah, that's from the same person, then you're walking a very fine line between inspiration and copying. Or I think you've then actually crossed that line.
I think this is where I'm gonna leave that cut. I think that's all that I wanted to say here, and now the only thing I'd like to... damn it. Page up and down is not going down the timeline. So annoying. At this point, I'm gonna put this here because this is the thumbnail for the stream output, and I'm actually going to adjust that in case at any point I want to like export that stream thumbnail again. So that's now here, and now you can see my super cool template. So this template that I made, and wait, I'll just change the in and out point, and I can actually delete these markers. I don't need those. Because the markers from inside the nested sequences, they actually show up on the timeline. So I don't need any markers in there. And that's why I'm also using different colored markers, because the regular marker color, which is this weird green color, is the thumbnail marker, and the red color is the one where I'm saying, okay, this is the end of that cut, which right now is not in the right spot. But let me show you this template that I made. So let's see where I can... I think I have it in overlays, and I have it... I think this is the main one, okay? So let me grab a second version of this so I'm not messing up. So I created a motion graphics template in After Effects, and a bunch of stuff can be changed on this. When I click on it, it goes into the edit section of the essential graphic, and I have global controls and a bunch of sliders there. Some of them could be in a different place, but yeah. So I can turn the header on and off. I can turn the frame on and off. I can turn the footer on and off. I can turn the background on and off, but that's wrong. So something went wrong there. It's supposed to turn off like this. I don't know what the hell it's turning off there. It's supposed to turn off this green thing. Oh god, something's broken. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, well, currently I don't need to turn the header on and off, the background on and off. But wait, I did turn the background off in one of the other ones. But what happened? Why is the background broken all of a sudden? God damn it. I can turn the roughen edges off, which I hate that Alt and scroll wheel isn't scrolling into this. Is there no shortcut to scroll into this? It's so annoying. So annoying. This is the only way to scroll in, and that means I don't have, like, I can't custom scroll in. So annoying. Okay, roughen edges means it takes off this roughen edges on this frame, which I thought maybe that'll be useful. I can turn the header shadow on and off, but actually the shadow is, no, it's not. It's just for this, and then I can turn the footer shadow on and off in case I want that. And then of course I can change all of the text. So let's go back to fit. What I can do is I can change this, and I changed this to motion design, and then everything, this whole thing is responsive, changes all nicely responsively. And then this bottom one, I changed it to weekly live streams, so that's also responsive, but the positioning isn't responsive. So for that I have a slider, and I have a slider here which is the header position, and I can slide this up and down where I want it to be. And the red lines, I think, is where on the 4x5 where it gets cut off, but that doesn't apply in this vertical story format. And I can also, like, I can global position, global scale, and all of that. Oh yeah, there's something like behind. Oh, of course. Okay, right. This was turned on. That's why we couldn't see the background turn on and off. Okay, so it is actually working. It was just this bottom layer was also turned on. So I can turn that off, on and off. I can, and the way the text is handled is the shape is responsive to the text. So the blue background of the header is responsive to the text, to both lines of the text, but the text, the way it stays always the same width is because that text is based on a box width. So that's the box X size. And when I make the box X size smaller, both lines of text get smaller, and because of when the text gets smaller, the shape in the background of the text also gets smaller. So it all kind of is responsive. If you are interested in looking at this particular, not this particular, but this setup with the text responsive to a shape, and then also a shape responsive to auto resizing to text, I did create a project file with all of the expressions, which is available on the Classroom, which is the Patreon. So if you'd like to, first of all, support me, you can become part of the Classroom community, and on top of supporting me, which is already nice enough, you can have access to all of these types of project files, expression scripts, and all of that. So that's this one. You can play around with that. It's also set up so you can export it as a MOGUT and then use it in Premiere Pro if you like. It's like the whole shebang. I made that available for all patrons. So if you'd like to support me in that way, I would much appreciate that. Just go to patreon.com/Sonja Geracek. The link is also in the description if you can't figure out my last name, which I wouldn't expect you to. But yeah, you can access that, and of course I can also change all the colors of everything. I made nice folders for these, groups for these, and I can literally change the color to anything else. So this is the text color that I'm changing there. Then I can change the footer. You can also click on this and change it to any random color. Or you can use this and change it to, like, you know, to a color that's on screen. You can change the drop shadow color. Let's make this absolutely horrendously ugly. You can change anything you want. That doesn't make any sense. You can't see that. There you go. Yeah. The only thing you can't change is this like playback frame. Playback frame, because that's like a set graphic that I have in that I created, but I'm using just a still image of that graphic because it actually plays, like the colors change and stuff. So you can't change that, or I can't change that. But it's fine because I don't actually want to, I don't think. And if I do, I can still go back into that After Effects file, change the settings, and then bring it back and then update my file here. But yeah, I'm not anticipating changing this. Or if I don't want to see it, I can just turn it off in the switches, which is the frame, this one. And an additional thing, so we started off with seeing this, right? The way I did that is I turned off everything apart from the background, the header shadow, and the header, which is this. And this is actually the background because I set it up in such a way, because at first I was like, okay, I want like a frame around my streaming thumbnail. And I was like, how am I going to do this? I created like a shape in Premiere Pro and I like gave it a stroke, but every time you change the stroke, the size of the shape changes according to the stroke thickness. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. It was a mess. You can't make the shape a specific size. Like, I can't make the shape 1080 by 1920. I have to like drag it manually. Like, it's just weird. So what I decided to do, I gave the background cutout box. So there is like the big background, and then it has like a merge something, like where it creates like a cutout. So like an empty thing where I can put the snippet or the short behind it. So the video edit, I can put this behind here. And this is sitting on top of that. And I can just like change the size of this and remind me to like undo this. And then I can make it as wide as I want. And that way, yikes, is this the right width now? Okay, I think so. So yeah, that's how I did that. So super proud of this. And so let's go to the next thing. So that's the motion graphics template that I'm using, but I'm not using that for the tutorial part. I'm only using that for like the Instagram post for the vertical like IGTV thumbnail and for the story video. So we have another message from Tom in the chat. Yeah, zooming in Premiere Pro, I don't know if it ever was a thing. I think it might have been an After Effects fever dream, because it's like, it's so, to me, obvious that it should be possible. I don't know why it isn't. Just eating a little bit of chocolate. Yeah. So you didn't find anything, only a user voice asking for it. Yeah, there's so many user voice. User voice, if you don't know what that is, it's like this request forum by Adobe where you can say, please Adobe fix this, and if enough people upvote it, then supposedly it gets fixed. But I am skeptical about that, and also I want to put this end marker here, so we have that, and I also have like a bunch of stuff open that I don't need right now. So let's close all of the stuff I don't need. And now I need to make this long enough until I see the red marker, which is the end of the oh, why is that black? Oh, because it's already like cut off at that point which is fine. But actually what I want to do, I do want to leave it longer, but I will add a fade out to the audio, and I do that manually because there is no fade out for audio. There is like an exponential fade. I guess I could use that. I don't know if I can. But the problem is, even if I add this here, the longer I make it, the more it's going to like extend. The fade out doesn't just, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't stop, if you know what I mean. Like, I want more video but less audio, so it's not useful. So I just use the manual keyframes, and what I do is I add a keyframe here, I drag this with shift all the way down, and I just give this an auto, like a bezier. I don't know what the difference between auto bezier and a bezier is. I just put a bezier on top of that, because like this breath sounds quite natural, and that's just like the fade out. And this is the thumbnail. I don't need this. Don't need that. I need this. So here at the red mark, that's where I have this like out end card screen. So I have this end card screen, and I actually do have a After Effects template for this. So in the future, if I want to change some of the text, maybe I will create a motion graphics template out of this. But right now it isn't one. It's just a video that I've imported, just so I have like 20 seconds of this where I can like put the YouTube cards and things on screen, and it has like my handles and stuff and what this is. And actually I do want to make changes, because it still says live streams every Tuesday and Friday at 5 p.m. CET. And because I've changed the time, that's actually not accurate anymore. So it would make sense to make a motion graphics template out of this, but that may be a future live stream session where I make a motion graphics template out of this. But for now, we're just using this old video, and I can actually cut this off like around here. Let's do cut. We don't need this. And this is the end of the video. The end of this extended tutorial, and at the end of this I always put my red marker, and let's save. And now I would create, because this is actually like 4 minutes 30 seconds long, right? But I have to cut it down to 1 minute. So I think I can cut out a lot of the stuff after the 2 minute 30 second mark, but I will need to cut out something in between because it needs to be 1 minute. So I've done the cut, I've created the cut. Now I can duplicate this, right click, duplicate, and I'll change this tutorial to short, so that I know one is the tutorial, the other one is the short. And now the nitty gritty. Actually, I should have really watched this back. Okay, let's watch it back in case I find something that doesn't work or whatever for the extended version as well.
There are different ways of approaching illustrations, especially when you're a beginner. There is master copies where you
let's go faster.
And try to get it as close to the original as possible. So this is not your design, this is not your artwork, you're essentially trying to study a master's work, so they're master copies typically of a master. I think this originated in what is a practice with illustration or fine art students, like museums and copy masters. So it's a study. Okay, it's not something like you should be copying artists.
Okay, too fast.
It's not really your work, it's more for you to study. So that's the purpose of a master study. Then the next step is getting multiple pieces of inspiration and mashing them together to create a new art form, which then practically is your design or your creation, because you took inspiration from multiple different looks and created your own. So that's already a step further than just a master copy. And that's what I would think of.
So this part I can cut out.
This would be like the second step. It's not something that came exactly out of my own head, but it is something that I'm together with various pieces of inspiration. The next level is something that you come up with without inspiration.
Okay, so this part I would want to be back in.
The next level is something that you come up with without inspiration from other artists, maybe inspiration from nature or your environment, but not necessarily inspiration from other art, and you create the whole thing on your own, draw it, illustrate it, whatever materials you're using, and that would be your original work.
And that's essentially, I think, where I would cut it off. Like, that's a pretty good short. So, and let's finish watching the whole thing just in case something doesn't make sense for like the extended version of this tutorial.
That's how I would kind of...
I mean, it's not a tutorial, right? It's more like a think piece.
Categorize the stages of studying illustration or becoming a proficient illustrator when you're just starting out. Does work without inspiration actually exist? And I don't think work without inspiration exists 100%. You're always influenced by your surroundings, by things that you consume, but there's a difference between being inspired being inspired by other people's work and kind of that sparking ideas and incorporating somebody else's artwork or style even into your own work. I think there's a really clear distinction that needs to happen between being inspired and liking a style and incorporating that one. As long as you're still elevating that to something else, that's still your original work, even though you might have incorporated some style essences from somebody else's work. But being inspired in general, just consuming things, and maybe you like a particular color palette and that's what inspires your color palette, I think that's a little bit different though, because you're then
I'm
not
out
just
of
taking
water.
one particular thing from another artist and incorporating that, but it's just a general concept of me, for example. I like bright pastel colors. There are hundreds, if not thousands of artists that create artwork with bright pastel colors. You know, that's not really a specific thing tied to one particular artist, whereas maybe a certain type of line style or a certain type of shading style might be recognizable for one particular artist. And if you incorporate that, that doesn't necessarily mean you're copying them, but if somebody can look at two images side by side and say, yeah, that's from the same person, then you're walking a very fine line between inspiration and copying. Or I think you've then actually crossed that line.
Yeah, I think that's pretty concise for the extended cut, and let's go back and cut it down to the short now. So there's something...
And you create the whole thing on your own, draw it, illustrate it, whatever materials you're using, and that would be your original work. So that's how I would kind of categorize the stages of...
I think this part, that's how I would categorize. I think that I want that as the ending.
So that's how I...
Yeah, I definitely want this section here.
So that's how I would kind of categorize the stages of studying illustration or becoming a proficient illustrator when you're just starting out.
Okay, and then this other, all the stuff after that, I'll delete that. I don't want any of that. I think I don't want this part either. Let's start in the beginning.
So there are different ways of approaching illustrations especially when you're a beginner. There is master copies where you imitate somebody's work and try to get it as close to the original as possible. So this is not your design, this is not your artwork, you're essentially just trying to study a master's work. So they're master copies because you're creating a copy of a master. I think this originated in, or is...
Okay, this is not something I need to keep, like where it originated. I think that part I'm gonna cut out.
Practice with illustration or fine art students that go to museums and copy masters. So it's a study. Okay, this is not something like you shouldn't be copying an artist and say, look what I did. It's not really your work, it's more for you to study. So that's the purpose of a master study. Then the next step is...
Okay, then the next step. Let's see what the cut looks like.
So they're master copies because you're creating a copy of a master. Then the next step...
That's a really sharp cut. Let's see if I can unsharpen that cut a little bit. Where are we?
You shouldn't be copying us. Look what I did. It's not your work, it's more for you to study. So that's the purpose of study.
Here. Okay, let's see. I maybe want to keep this breath in. Maybe that's gonna make it less jarring. Let's see.
A master. Then the next...
Oh. Okay, let's just add this crossfade on the audio. Maybe that's gonna make it slightly less jarring.
Of a master. Then the next step is...
Yeah, but I can hear too much of that crossfade.
Because you're creating a copy of a master. Then the next step is...
Yeah, that's okay.
Getting multiple pieces of inspiration and mashing them together to create a new art form, which then practically is your design or your creation, because you took inspiration from multiple different looks and created your own. So that's already a step further than just a master copy.
Okay, and then I think I want to cut it off because we only have 5 seconds left.
And that's what I would think or define this one as. This would be like the second step. It's not something that came exactly out of my own head, but it is something that I put together with various pieces of inspiration. The next level is something that you come up with.
Okay, next level.
The next level is something...
I think I'm gonna have to cut off something more from earlier because I wanted all the way until here. Now we're at 1 minute 30 seconds, so definitely have to cut something else out.
The next level is something that you come up with without inspiration from other artists, maybe inspiration from nature or your environment, but not...
Okay.
From artists, maybe inspiration from other artists, maybe inspiration from nature or your environment, but not necessarily inspiration from other art, and you create the whole thing come up with without inspiration, something that you come up with.
Okay. Cut.
But not necessarily inspiration from other art, and you...
Yeah, here. Cut.
Thing that you come up with and you create the whole thing on your own, draw it, illustrate it, whole thing on your own.
I don't need to give examples of what you can, what materials you can use.
And that would be your original work. The next level is something that you come up with and you create the whole thing on your own.
Yep. Your own, and that there's like a breath that I can take out. So I've learned that if there's a breath, or if I need to take a breath, it's always better to take the breath from the cut that's following rather than the previous cut. So if you're cutting, cut away the cut on like the left side of the timeline and keep the breath in from the right side of the timeline. It sounds more natural. On your own. And that would... And I think I want just a little bit of a fade here, just to hide this cut in the audio. On your own, and that would be your original work. So that's how I would kind of categorize the stages of studying illustration or becoming a proficient illustrator when you're just starting out. Okay, cool. But we still need to cut out 20 seconds. So let's see what we can remove. So there are different ways of approaching illustrations especially when you're a beginner. There is master copies where you imitate somebody's work and try to get it as close to the original as possible. So this is not... Okay, so... I think the example after this I can remove. So this is not your design, this is not your artwork, you're essentially just trying to study a master's work. So they're master copies because you're creating a copy of a master. Then the next step is your design, this is not your artwork, you're essentially... This part, you're studying, I think this I want to keep in. Essentially just trying to study possible. Essentially just trying to study a master's works. Yeah, and then this I want to take out again. Then the next step is getting multiple pieces of inspiration and mashing them together to create a new art form, which then practically is your design or your creation, because you took inspiration from multiple different looks and created your own. So that's already a step further than... I think I need to take this one, just this whole thing out. Which then practically is your design or your creation. Or your creation, because the next level is something that you come up with and you create the whole thing on your own, and that would... Is there a because? The because doesn't make sense. So there are different ways of approaching illustrations especially when you're a beginner. There is master copies where you imitate somebody's work and try to get it as close to the original as possible, essentially just trying to study a master's work. Then the next step is getting multiple pieces of inspiration and mashing them together to create a new art form, which then practically is your design or your creation, because the next level is your design. Your design or is your design or your creation, because the next level is your creation. I don't need to include the cause. I'm hoping that here is a breath, so I can... But the next... Yeah, okay, maybe. If you hit A in Premiere Pro, you can highlight all of the clips, if you already made cuts, all of the clips to the right of the timeline, in the timeline, and then you can all push them all back. Yeah, I think that's a good cut here. Let's see. I still need to, I guess I'm gonna need to cut like this breath. Now we're getting to the stage where I'm really needing to cut out like all of these like tiny unnecessary spaces so I can fit into this 1 minute mark. Essentially just trying to study a master's work. Then the next step is getting multiple pieces of inspiration and mashing them together to create a new art form, which then practically is your design or your creation. But the next level is something that you come up with and you create the whole thing on your own, and that would be your original work. So that's how I would kind of categorize the stages of studying illustration or becoming, stages of becoming. There we go. 1 minute. The stages of becoming a proficient illustrator when you're just starting out. Nice. I did it. Okay, we're at 1 minute. Even under. We're under 1 minute. Whee! Okay, and I'm gonna put a nice... Oh, actually, I don't need to put a marker here because I have a marker here. So I'll just drag this red marker to this one. And now I'm gonna try and find a nice spot for a thumbnail for this section. Although I do have a thumbnail marker from the other section, I want a different marker for like the shorts and the tutorials. Not always. Sometimes I just use the same marker with a different overlay, but in this case, I do want a different. Somewhere where I'm like not gesticulating, maybe I'm smiling, maybe this one. Like, ooh, ooh. It's like, my favorite ones are either I'm looking in the camera and I look normal instead of like mid-sentence, or I'm looking in the camera and I'm smiling, or I'm making just a regular, like a normal face, like this I can later on use for a thumbnail for this particular live stream, or I'm making a crazy face, like I'm making a crazy face and like I just like looking weird. So I like these are my three options usually for using a thumbnail. It's like, put some sunglasses over top. Yeah, it looks like I'm miming. Yeah, I think I do. I wonder, is there no shot where I'm like kind of half smiling? It's hard to find it when I'm talking. It's hard to find a screenshot that like looks normal, or like not normal. I don't mean normal like I don't need to look weird. I can look weird. I don't care if I look weird. I am weird. So I'm fine with looking weird. It's just that I don't want to look like I'm in the middle of a sentence. Like that looks weird in a bad way.
The next step is getting multiple pieces of inspiration and matching them together to create.
I think the one with the hands on the head is actually the best one. I don't know if my hands are on my head, but I don't know.
Your design or your creation becomes the next level of something.
Okay, and I want to avoid blur. That's the other thing. So my hands are blurry here. I want to find a shot where I'm like... Does that look too weird? Like, this shot, I'm like, I almost look like I'm smiling. If my hands weren't blurry in that moment, I'd choose that one. And I want my eyes to preferably look in the camera, so it's probably gonna be one of these. Sorry if I'm shouting and my headphones are like noise cancelling, and sometimes I shout because it's cancelling my own voice from my own ears. I think this one's fine. Or like this one, but my hands are blurry. I like this one too. If only my hands weren't blurry.
Thing on your own, and that would be your original work. So that's how I would kind of categorize the stages of becoming illustrator when you're
Yeah, okay, I think I'm gonna go with this one. This is like, it's a good balance between weird, not blurry, and interesting enough to be like, oh, what's going on here? Alright, so I've got the short, I've got the tutorial. Now the next step is put it everywhere it belongs, essentially. So I already have a streaming thumbnail because I created immediately after the stream. I find like a nice spot. You see I'm looking in the camera here and I'm smiling, so that was my preferred shot. Here I need to replace, and it's a short, this one is the short thumbnail, so I'm gonna replace it with the short nested comp, and I'm gonna go to the spot that I chose for the, actually that one is way more interesting. Where was I just a second ago? Oh, if my hand wasn't blurry in that moment, I actually prefer this this face way more. I don't know, now this looks boring. But I'm leaning to the side, which is nice, because like it needs to have space for this thing here. Periscope thumbnail for the win, yeah. I agree. Okay, in point, out point, this is it locked in. The only thing I have to now change is here, this thing. And what I do, I have like a template for this. So, okay, speaking of templates, I'll show you something. So for the 16 by 9, no, for the stream thumbnail. Okay, so what's happening here? For this, I have this nested comp, which has this motion graphics template inside. And because this one is never going to change, I'm just using the sequence, the nested sequence, I'm nesting this sequence in my stream thumbnail sequence. So it's like a pre-comp, okay? Because this is never going to change. It's always going to say, shut up and draw, Friday illustration live stream. But the tutorial thumbnail I do need to change because I always want the text to be appropriate to whatever I'm talking about in the tutorial. In this case, it's not actually a tutorial, but it doesn't matter. We're sticking with these terms. So with the, where am I? Yeah, I need to close some of these because I'm getting confused where we are. And I need some water. My throat is getting kind of scratchy. Okay, so this one I do need to change, but I don't think I need like 2 lines. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into my overlays, and I have the stream thumbnail, this one with the little ref. I know it's very small on screen, but it has like a ref at the end of it, which stands for reference, and it has the single line item. And I'm gonna move that in here. And it's the tutorial. Which one is the tutorial thumbnail? Okay, I think I need to change these names because I'm a little confused. Oh, this is a short thumbnail. Yeah. No, actually, that's correct. Okay, so I'm going to delete this one, paste this one in here. It's a tiny fly. And now let's think of something like a not clickbait in the sense that I'm lying about what this video is about, but something that's like attractive, you know. This Keep It Natural, it was for using noise reduction in, or is going to be, it's scheduled. It's about to post in the next few weeks, and it's about how to use noise reduction in Audition on audio files to keep it sounding natural but removing the background noise. So that's what that's all about. And now, what's the thing that I'm talking about? I'm at this stage, my brain is getting kind of foggy and it's hard to think.
Mashing together to create a new art form, which then practically is your design.
So there are different
ways of approaching illusion when, especially when you're a beginner. There is master copies where you imitate somebody's work and try to get it as close to the original as possible. Essentially, just try to study a master's work. But the next step is
Okay, so sometimes I go to my YouTube and I see what other people uses their like thumbnail info stuff. Let's see. Why so short? Now I'm like exposing myself a little bit here with the stuff that I watch, but I don't think there's anything too weird in here. And remember, it's not only suggesting things I'm subscribed to, okay? Let's see. The funniest video I've ever made. Great artist steal. Yeah, but see, I was listening. Where was this on? I think it was on Trash Taste. If you don't know what that is, it's these 3 guys, 2 British, 1 Australian, and they live in Japan and they talk about like anime, living in Japan, being a freelancer, being YouTubers in Japan, all of this type of stuff. I'm a huge Japanophile, so I'm like into this content. And they were talking about great artist steal, and it's a quote by Picasso. And what he meant isn't just steal it and like that's your art now, but it means you steal it and then you make something out of it. So you make a new thing out of it, and that becomes, it's essentially the thing that I'm talking about in that video. You make a new thing out of it, so it's not stealing and then just reselling that exact thing, you know, that's pure stealing. But stealing it, remodeling it, and making it your own, making it a new piece of art. So yeah, just be careful with the term stealing. So yeah, it's stealing in the sense of inspiration, right? I'm not just gonna take like this, I hate it, and recreate this entire like exact thumbnail, because it makes no sense for my video. Okay, so like, why so short? Like something it's like catchy. What I'm picking up here is like, so I'm trying, what I'm looking for right now in these thumbnails is like, I'm picking up what they're trying to do, okay? It's something short. Sometimes it's a question or it's a very harsh statement that makes you think, what do you mean? I hate it. What do you hate? Why so short? What do they mean? What is short? Are the Japanese people short? Is the shirt short? Is the skirt short? Oh my god, so many S's. So it's like, this is the thing about the thumbnail or the text. If there is text on the thumbnail, it's like something, a very short statement, very clipped, that's making you ask questions enough to click on the thumbnail, right? That's kind of what we're going for here. So I don't know when I was showing you the Trash Taste if that was even on screen, because I was my window is larger than what you can see. It was this video that I was pointing at, in case you didn't catch that. So short and snappy, makes you want to click on it. All right. I'm not saying I'm like doing it right yet. I don't. I have no idea like if my thumbnails are click worthy, but you know, you gotta learn before you can. You gotta walk before you can run, so it's my attempt to walk. Okay, so I'm talking about master copies. Oh, that was your suggestion. Yeah, great artist steal. Actually, yeah, why the hell not? That's a statement that would make you think, what do you mean, right? Okay, I like that suggestion, Tom. Didn't immediately get what you were trying to, where you were trying to go with that, but yeah, definitely. Let's go with that. Great artists steal. The only question is this going to be too long? And the only downside that I have with this is it's not using the new template. I might have to just... I might have to replace my template here. Yeah, let's just do it. Okay, so what I can do is I can hold Alt and replace this, and it will try and replace everything. And if I've added something in the controls that wasn't previously there, it like won't show up, like the colors are gone. Like, The color controls are gone for some reason. I don't understand what's going on. All right, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna bring it in new from scratch, and I'll just recreate this look so it doesn't look so weird, and that the text like applies correctly. Okay, so we need to turn a whole bunch of these off. So switches. We don't need the frame, we don't need the footer, we do need the background, we don't need the roughen edges. Header shadow, yes we do need that, we don't need that. Okay. Now, let's go to the text, and we need great artists steal. Excellent, done. We don't need the bottom text, so what I can do, I can just delete it. That makes it go away. And I think it understands that. Oh, and the background. We need to turn off the background. Didn't I do that already? Oh, I didn't. Okay. Oh, no. We don't need the background. I already said that because we're going to make it larger. And now I'm going to find out how large. Because we have the cutout. It's 1719 and 970. That was the most important part that I need to port over. So 1790... and 970 to create that frame. And I also need to move it down. And that's, I think, the global position. I don't know if that's the... No, I have like frame and background scale and position. So it's at 55. So I need to move that down to 55. That makes it be where I want it to be. Then I can move the header position. And that's at minus 345 minus 443 minus 345 443 345 443 345 minus 443 minus 345. Yay. Well, it isn't exactly where I want it to be, but I think the padding is less as well. Let's have a look at that padding. I hope it didn't like remove it from this. I think it might have. Padding is at 30, so I think I need to bring that down. Yep, padding is at 30. And now I think we can go away from this. Actually, the colors. I need to see these colors. They are here for some reason now. So box header. I'm just gonna copy the hex. So these are my brand colors, if you didn't know that. No, the background color is the blue. I think it's the regular blue, and then the box color is that one, and then the text color is I don't know. I gotta go into the other color settings. And the drop shadow color is which one? I think the text header shadow color. That's it. Should be that. Text header shadow color. Oh, yeah, sure, that's fine too. It's not the one I thought it was gonna be, but fine. Yeah, right. I will clip this part that I was talking about with the stealing. I'll just shove it in that short. Okay, so box header color, yeah. Text footer color, text header color, yeah, we need this one. Text header color, oh no, I just realized I didn't start recording this stream. No, now I have to download it from YouTube. Let's hope the stream doesn't crash at any point. No. This hasn't happened in a while that I forgot to hit record in OBS. Fingers crossed this stream doesn't crash. Yeah, I guess the footer shadow is that. But I think for the shorts, this actually isn't the blue color, but this one. Yeah. For animation collab, it's the blue color. Okay, cool. Now we've got everything. We can delete this one now, and we can move this one down. So it's the Y. I want the Y slightly. Come on, move. In Premiere, for some reason, when you're using these sliders, they don't move immediately. You have to like shake them about and then they will start moving. It's just so random. Okay, let's save. And I'm not sure if I can see this correctly, but it feels like the text isn't quite in the center, which I expected that. Because it doesn't account for the missing bottom text because it has like a padding. I mean, I could remove the padding, like the leading between the text layers. I could remove that and maybe not the padding, but the... Oh, I didn't add the leading in this. So anyway, what I have here, I have like an additional... Oh no. Oh no. That doesn't work anymore. This is supposed to help readjust the text inside of the frame so that like it doesn't have this giant gap. But because the text moves with the frame, that doesn't work anymore. No. Okay, it's fine. That's fine. It's just a little higher than I would like it to be, but that's fine. All right. It's okay. So let's go and grab this and we will put it here. And let's go back to fit and position 1 and V. Artists steal. Let's make a typo check. Great. Artists steal. Okay. Cool. Save. Done. Clickbait thumbnail finished. Okay, let's go to the next thing. We've got that's the thumbnail. That's this one. So what we have now, this is the story. So the 1080 by 1920 size, which can be either a thumbnail. This was a thumbnail, but then I also have the story one, which I haven't created for this yet. So I'm gonna create that now, and it's story. Actually, I should have done that after I've replaced. Okay, let's remove that again. After I've replaced the nested comp. So let's go to the cuts. And this one will also be the short, because if I'm posting it on the story, it needs to be short. But I will find the thumbnail. And, oh. Right, okay, so this one's zoomed in. But in this particular case, I don't want the zoom, or the scale. Oops, no, I need to make it smaller. But it's like positioned correctly already, so I just need to scale it to the right position. I will find the in and out point, I mean the thumbnail point, which is here, but I actually don't need this marker. And what I will do is I will remove these, because for the story one and for the Instagram post, I will create subtitles that will appear between this frame and the YouTube link. So these are from the other video, and we're gonna have to do that. I can transcribe the video. So I'm going to do that. And if you're wondering why you can't transcribe the video, it's because I'm in beta. I submitted myself to be part of the beta testing for Premiere transcribing subtitles. So don't worry if you don't have that option. It is not available to everyone. As far as I know, still isn't available for everyone. So that's still something that needs to get done. So now we go, we've got the thumbnail. Now I can create the story from that. So I've got the story. And the story is just from the beginning to the end. Out, in. And for this, we do need the subtitles that we still need to create. This is the thumbnail. And this is the short. And for this one, I'm actually gonna delete this instead of replacing it. Well, no, actually I won't, because there are some keyframes, but it's fine. I can just remove the keyframes because repositioning this is probably going to be more annoying. So, actually, no. I'm gonna delete it. And, no, okay, I'm not gonna. I just realized that I'd have to, like, redo all of the, like... okay, let's remove all of the keyframes. Yep, removing all the keyframes. And at this stage, all I want to do is frame my face. Because in this case, usually I try to frame whatever I'm showing on screen. But in this case, I think you can just frame my face. Hopefully I'm not moving around too much. Maybe I'll just move it just slightly over, like here. More or less. I'm more or less in the center of this. Okay. Why is my red marker not in here? This is the short after all. What happened here? Okay. Don't know. Okay. Should I add some red arrows and circles around things in the background for the clickbait effect? Oh yeah. No, it's fine. I think I'm fine. Alright, so now I have the YouTube short, the like actual short that would appear on YouTube as a short, which is kind of like a TikTok or a reel on Instagram. So we've got this, and now we just need to replace the thumbnail, and then we transcribe this bizatch. And this is also the short. Where are we? The post. Yeah, the post is also the short. So we're gonna replace that. And we're gonna go right there, out, and we're gonna scale this down until it hits the frame. Actually, I can just check what I used in the short. The story, it's 48, so I don't want them to be different. I don't want the scale to be different. 48. Cool. Actually, yeah, probably 49 is probably better, because I do feel like there was like this black shining through. So let's go back to story. Let's make that 49, because they're set to scale from the bottom left corner, so they always scale the same. They're always in the right position. All I need to do is like scale or like shift them across a little bit. All right, cool. Last thing to do is transcribe this, and it does take a moment, but it doesn't take a huge amount of time. So I have this option to transcribe sequence. I can just hit that. I can choose which audio track. I just do mix because usually there's only one audio track anyway. It takes just a moment to transcribe. It's rendering the audio, it's uploading it to the server, and this is, I think, something that I don't know if that's always going to be the case that they're uploading it to the server, but probably yes, because they have to use their software somehow to like process the audio and transcribe it. So that's maybe something to be aware of once it becomes commercially available, that potentially your data is being uploaded to the Adobe servers, and then, you know, that's how it's getting transcribed. And now I watch it through, and like it nicely goes through the text, and if there's anything it didn't pick up correctly, I can amend the text and then create captions from it. I can also save it as a text file and save it as a subtitles file that I can then upload to YouTube, which is super handy. So let's go through this.
There are different ways of approaching illustrations, especially when you're a beginner. There is
illustration. I do say illustrations, but I want to correct that to sound correctly.
Illustrations, especially when you're a beginner. There is master copies.
When maybe like a dash.
Especially when you're a beginner. There is master copies where you imitate.
And maybe I want a copy here, comma here too. Master copies, comma.
Master copies where you imitate somebody's work and try to get it as close to the original as possible. Essentially just trying to study a master's work. Then the next step.
A master apostrophe S work.
Master's work. Then the next step is getting multiple pieces of inspiration and mashing them together to create a new art form, which then practically is your design or your creation. But the next level is something that you come up with and you creation,
uh-oh, there's... I start saying because...
but the next level is something...
Okay. Yeah, the marker should still hit correctly. I hope. I think the markers travel when I make cuts, but the in and out points don't for the thumbnail, so I might have to double check those. So instead of because, it's but.
Creation, but the next level is something that you come up with and you create the whole thing on your own, and that would be your original work. So that's how I would kind of categorize the stages of becoming a proficient illustrator when you're just starting out.
Cool. I can not save that as a text file yet. I do need to create captions, and I do have a style. I have an SG post and an SG story style. They only differ in the amount of how high they sit on the video. So it creates these, and I can hide them from here because I obviously don't want them to appear in my other comps on top of the video. I want them to appear on top of my overlay, on top of my graphics. So I hide them in here, but I copy them, and anywhere I'm using the short, which essentially is just the post and the story, that's where I want to use these subtitles. And this is the post, and I use the post, and there it is. Cool. And then I can save this as an SRT file, which creates timestamps for where these appear, and then the subtitles will appear in that exact moment where I have, or the transcription has cut them, and I can make changes. I can, you know, trim them or make them longer or whatever I want. And I have a folder here, and the only thing I didn't do is take the name of this, which I do want to do. So I copy the name of this project, I go into the folder of that project, paste the name, and this is short subs. Cool. And now I want to... Why is this in here? I don't need that. So do I not have subtitles in here? Oh, no, it's not this one. It's the story. That's the one. Okay. And here, Yay. So now you can see it appears like down here. Maybe you can't see. Let's zoom in on that. You can see it appears down here, which is like because I use the post look. I don't know. So instead of doing that, oh no. I can go into effects controls. I could before. I don't know, sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't do it. I don't know what the reasoning is here. Sometimes it's like, no, you have multiple clips selected, I can't do anything with that. And then I'm like, what? Captions. How can I... Okay. I wonder if I can just... Yeah, so there are multiple ways I did this in the past, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what I did for it to work and what I did for it not to work, so... But I do have them here. I wonder if I can just... No, I can't paste it over that. Can I double click it? No. Can I apply it? No. I don't know. Don't understand. No clip selected. What do you mean? Oh, okay. It was in the essential graphics section, not the other one. I don't know. And in here, I can then switch it to story, and then it's in the position where I would like it to be. That's how I did that. Okay, I was just in the wrong window. That's why it wasn't working. Cool. So now the only thing that needs to be done is create a transcript for the extended video, because I do like to use that text for the for like the description, and I do like to use the subtitles. I like to add the original subtitles, so I'm gonna grab this one and mute it because I don't actually want that part to be transcribed. So let's save, let's go to text, and let's transcribe this. And transcribe. So that's gonna take a moment. Let's go back to this view. And while it's... Oh, I still do have a little bit of water left. Ooh. We're getting a lot of dropped frames right now. I think we're gonna have a freeze of this stream. I'm just gonna start recording from this point onward, so I don't lose this last part of the stream at least. Wow, 2 minutes. It's gonna take 2 minutes to transcribe this whole thing. Wow. Okay, in those 2 minutes, I think I'm gonna grab myself a little bit more water. So I'll be right back. We'll just finish this, and then that'll be almost it. Oh, it's done. Okay, I will not take a break. Let's just check that everything's fine here.
So there are different ways of approaching it.
So unfortunately, because I retranscribed it, I need to make the same edits again, but that's okay. Let's find the master copy. La la la. A master's apostrophe, master apostrophe S. Okay, so let's go through it. Yes, I can. Oh, yes, right. I didn't save the text file from the short. I will actually do that. I can go back to the transcript. I can export that as an actual uh, text file as well, which I can then just use in the description of the video, which is super, super cool. So short text, and I can show you what that looks like. Let's go into, I think it's this one. Yep. And then, so this is the text file, and it just produces that text that shows up like that in Premiere Pro, produces that exact text file, which is super cool. And the subtitle file has the timestamp. So when I upload this to YouTube, it will show up in the exact spot from this time to this time. I used to actually write these subtitles files by hand. It is so annoying. But yeah, that's how you can create subtitles without hard encoding them into the video. But obviously I'm in the beta testing phase of this transcribe feature. I don't think it's available for everyone yet. All right, let's listen.
Especially when you're a beginner, there is master copies where you imitate somebody's work and try to get it as close to the original as possible. So this is not your design, this is not your artwork, you're essentially just trying to study a master's work. So they're master copies because you're creating a copy of a master. I think this originated in, or is a practice
in Bill. In, or
is a practice with illustration or fine art students that go to museums and copy masters. So it's a study. Okay, this is not something like, you shouldn't be copying an artist and say,
like, maybe an ellipses here.
Something like, you shouldn't be copying an artist and say, look what I did. It's not really your work, it's more for you to study. So that's the purpose of a master study. Then the next step is getting multiple pieces of inspiration and mashing them together to create a new art form, which then practically is your design or your creation, because you took inspiration from multiple different looks and created your own. So that's already a step further than just a master copy. And that's what I would think or define this one as. This would be like the second step. It's not something that came exactly out of my own head, but it is something that I put together with various pieces of inspiration. The next level is something that you come up with without inspiration from other artists, maybe inspiration from nature or your environment, but not necessarily inspiration from other art, and you create the whole thing on your own, draw it, illustrate it, whatever materials you're using, and that would be your original work. So that's how I would kind of categorize the stages of studying illustration or becoming a proficient illustrator when you're just starting out. Does work without inspiration actually exist? I don't think work...
Not when, does. Where is that? Does... Oh no, that's the wrong part. When... there is no comma, that's a new sentence.
How I would kind of categorize the stages of...
Yeah, it's really impressive, isn't it? It's pretty good the way it transcribes. Sometimes it doesn't get it. My accent, I would think, is pretty understandable. I think it would have a harder time if your accent was a little bit stronger or away from like the straight English or American accent. If it has more of a regional sounding dialect, then it might have more trouble. I don't know, but it's doing a pretty good job. And the fact that you can very easily edit the text and then create captions from that is pretty cool.
Studying illustration or becoming a proficient illustrator when you're just starting out. Does work without inspiration actually exist? I don't think work without inspiration exists 100%.
Why would you spell out percent? It's so weird. Oops, no, one space, an additional space.
Exists 100%. You're always influenced by your surroundings, by things that you consume, but there's a difference between...
There is a difference between being inspired. Yep, sure.
Being inspired by other people's work and kind of that sparking ideas,
and that kind of that and kind of, let's put a comma in here, maybe that'll sound a little bit less weird. of that
sparking ideas and incorporating somebody else's artwork or style even into your own work. I think there's a really clear distinction that needs to happen between being inspired and liking a style and incorporating that one. As long as you're still elevating that to something else, that's still your original work, even though you might have incorporated some style essences from somebody else's work. But being inspired in general, just consuming things, and maybe you like this particular color palette and that's what inspires your color palette, I think that's a little bit different though, because you're then not just taking one particular...
And it's using the American spelling of color, so it's clearly transcribing to US English, but it's okay. I'll just leave it like that.
Incorporating that, but it's just a general concept of me, for example, I like bright pastel.
General concept, full stop. It's the general concept. No, of ellipses. And then me, comma, for example.
Particular thing from...
Oh, is there a one dot missing from the ellipses?
Of me, for example, I like bright pastel colors. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of artists that create artwork with bright pastel colors. You know, that's not really a specific thing tied to one particular artist, whereas maybe a certain type of line style or a certain type of shading style might be recognizable for one particular artist. And if you incorporate that, that doesn't necessarily mean you're copying them.
If you're incorporating that, where am I? If you're incorporating that doesn't necessarily mean you're copying them. Okay.
Tied to one particular artist, whereas maybe a certain type of line style or a certain type of shading style might be recognizable for one particular artist. And if you incorporate that, that doesn't necessarily mean you're copying them. But if somebody can look at two images side by side and say, yeah, that's from the same person, then you're walking a very fine line between inspiration and copying. Well, I think you've then actually crossed that line.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that has transcribed it pretty well. Let's create some captions. Yeah, let's create the post. Oh, nope, not cancel. Okay. Let's create the post captions first. Let's copy that. Copy. Hide it. And I can now save the text file. Oh no, I shouldn't have copied that before. Okay. It's fine. I can just use this and change the short to tutorial text. Cool. And then we go to caption and I can create the tutorial subs. Nice. And now I go to... Why do I actually need this? I'm not sure I do need this. I'm not currently using the subtitles for anything. But you know, there's always an option that I might export this for like IGTV and then I want to hard code the subtitles for that. Who knows? So for now, that's everything. That's everything. Now I would export it, but I think this is getting a little bit long, so I won't take you through exporting everything. Oh, I can also mark these. I can give these labels. This is just off screen, but I can, maybe if I scroll higher. If I right click, I can go to labels. You can't just click on the label like in Illustrator. You have to right click label and then I can choose the same label. And then when I go and I choose label and select label group, it's too low again. Label, select label group, it will select all of the ones that are visible with the same label and I can render them out at the same time. So I will leave it there, friends. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I hope I can download the stream from YouTube once I'm done with it because I forgot to turn on saving, recording, not saving. So yeah, this is what you can expect for the next few Friday live streams. We'll be editing a few more tutorials. There is a plenty of live streams that I can create tutorials out of. It's maybe going to become a little bit more tricky the further back we go because I used to have a different like look. I used to have overlays on the live stream and stuff like that. Let's see how far back we go, but we definitely have a few more. There's this one, effects controls from the last animation collab. I think even in this live stream I said something interesting at some point that I can cut out and create a short out of, so you can look forward to that. And on Tuesdays we're going to continue the collaboration with Andy and Animation Collab, so if you're here for the animation live stream, do make sure to tune in on Tuesday. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and you can also subscribe if you haven't already. Currently, only 72% of you that are watching my videos are subscribed. What are you doing with your life? Come, join the class, subscribe. And as always, you can share this with your friend if you'd like to support me monetarily. I do have a Patreon. We have project files, expressions, scripts, all kinds of good behind the scenes stuff in the classroom, which is what I call the Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Sonja. The link is in the description because my last name is a little bit weird, admittedly. So you can do that, or you can also just buy me a tea on Ko-fi.com or buymeacoffee.com. All of those links will and should already be in the description. I appreciate you joining today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye! Ah! I lost OBS. Alright, bye!